June 14, 1942. Before dawn touched the horizon, Lieutenant Howard Adi climbed into the cold belly of his PBY Catalina. The water around Midway Island shimmered under the searchlights. Engines hummed, waves slapped against the hull, and 8 men took their places in silence. None of them could know that in a few hours they would change the course of the Pacific War. AD was 24. Young, but hardened by endless patrols, 15 hours at a time, flying over an ocean so vast it could swallow fleets whole. Day after day, they saw nothing but water. Sometimes a shadow, sometimes a cloud that looked like a ship, but mostly emptiness. Yet that morning felt different. The base had been tense for days. Marines were ready. Every aircraft they could fly was already in the air. They all knew something was coming. The question was when. At 4:15 hours, Adi's Catalina tail numbered 23P6 rose from the water and climbed northwest. His mission: search 700 miles of open ocean. Somewhere out there, hidden by fog and distance, was the Japanese fleet. The Catalina was not built for glory. It was slow, fragile, and thin-skinned. But it could stay in the air for 20 hours, gliding low and steady like a patient hunter, could see what others missed. It could wait. As dawn began to break, the sky turned a pale gold. At 5:30 a.m., something appeared, then columns of smoke rising far on the horizon. The co-pilot leaned forward, eyes wide. "Is smoke multiple ships?" he said quietly. Adi banked left. The engines groaned. And then, through the haze, shapes emerged. 2 massive aircraft carriers, cruisers, destroyers, Japan's main strike force. In that single moment, the war pivoted. Adi's radio operator sent a message that would echo through history. 2 carriers and main body sighted, bearing 320 degrees distance, 180 miles. That report, sent at 5:34 a.m., reached Admiral Fletcher. Aboard Yorktown, Admiral Spruance, aboard Enterprise, and every American commander in the Pacific. They now knew where the enemy was. They could strike first. But Adi's task was not finished. He had to stay, to watch, to report. 0 fighters lifted from the Japanese carriers like hornets from a nest. The Catalina was no match. No speed to flee, no armor to absorb a hit. The only hope was the clouds. Adi climbed to 4,000 feet, slipped into the mist, vanished, then reappeared miles away. For 3 hours, the lumbering flying boat played hide-and-seek with death. Every few minutes, Adi dipped below the cloud line, caught a glimpse of the enemy's course, transmitted an update, then climbed back into safety. The Japanese fighters searched the sky in frustration. By the time another PBY relieved him at 8:30, Adi had done the impossible. He had tracked Japan's main fleet without being caught. When he landed back at Midway, the airfield was shaking with activity. Bombers roared overhead. The battle had begun, guided by his report. The Americans would call it the turning point of the Pacific. But for the crew of 23P6, it was just another mission, one that started before dawn and ended in the same cold sea they took off from. That morning, a slow, awkward flying boat found the enemy fleet before anyone else could. The fate of nations turned on the patience of 9 men in a machine that should never have survived. The Catalina had no glamour, no speed, no power, but it had endurance. And sometimes endurance wins wars. Asterisk, when the sun went down over the Solomon Islands, the ocean turned into ink, and that was when the Catalina came alive. By late 1942, the Navy realized something remarkable. The same slow, patient aircraft that had found the Japanese fleet could become a weapon of terror in the night. They called them the Black Cats. Each PBY was painted a dull, matte black, no insignia, no shine, only faint red numbers on the tail. When moonlight struck their wings, they dissolved into shadow. Japanese never saw them coming. Asterisk, at night, the sky belonged to no one. Fighters could not fly without light. Radar was primitive. But the PBY could roam, low quiet, stalking ships that thought darkness was protection. Asterisk, they flew just 50 feet above the waves, invisible against the island's silhouettes. They dropped bombs, torpedoes, and sometimes whatever they could find. There were stories of crews tossing homemade explosives from the side windows. War makes you inventive when you are desperate. Asterisk, the Japanese sailors began to whisper about them, the black aircraft that appeared from nowhere, tacked, and vanished before a single gun could be aimed. They called them black cats without knowing that the Americans used the same name. Asterisk, but for the crews. It was not heroism, it was survival. Asterisk, flying a PBY at night was like walking blindfolded on a knife's edge. Single mistake, a single cloud at the wrong height, and the sea would take you. Many did not return, yet their courage changed the rhythm of war. Japanese convoys were forced to move slower, hide longer, burn less fuel, carry fewer supplies. The enemy began to fear the dark. Asterisk, and while the black cats hunted, others flew for life. Asterisk, by 1943, the Catalina had become the Navy's guardian angel. When pilots went down in the Pacific, when ships sank and men drifted alone on rafts, it was the PBY that found them. Asterisk, they landed in seas no sane pilot would attempt. 10-foot waves, raging winds, under enemy fire. But they came. Every time. Asterisk, Lieutenant Nathan Gordon did it 3 times in one day, flying into a harbor filled with Japanese guns to rescue 15 men. Each landing could have been his last. He received the Medal of Honor, but he said later that all he wanted was to bring his brothers home. Asterisk, for many airmen, seeing the wide wings of a PBY on the horizon meant salvation. It meant someone had not given up looking for them. Asterisk, and so, the Catalina became more than a machine, became a promise. Asterisk, through endless nights, through storm and silence, through battles no one remembers, it carried men to safety and brought back the stories we now tell. Asterisk, when the war ended, some were scrapped, some turned to firebombers, some flew passengers across oceans, yet a few still remain, their wings creaking, their hulls reflecting the sunlight over quiet lakes. Asterisk, they are relics of an age when courage was measured not by speed, but by endurance. Asterisk, Lieutenant Howard Addy, the man who saw the Japanese fleet at Midway, rarely spoke of that morning. When asked years later, he said only, "We were just doing our job." But that job changed history, and perhaps that is the real lesson of the Catalina, that the world is not changed by moments of glory, but by the persistence of those who refuse to stop searching. Pause if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered. Give this video a like. It helps others discover the hidden heroes of history. Subscribe for more true tales of courage, endurance, and the forgotten machines that helped win the Second World War. Asterisk, the ocean at night is not black, it is alive. Asterisk, every ripple reflects starlight, every cloud hides a shape that might be death or salvation. Asterisk, by late 1942, the slow, unremarkable PBY Catalina had already proven its worth at Midway. But war is never static. The Navy needed more than eyes now. It needed ghosts. That is when the Black Cats were born. They were not designed in any lab or drafted by any admiral. They were created by necessity by pilots and mechanics who looked at their aging flying boats and thought, what if we fight on our own terms? Asterisk, at Henderson Field on Guadalcanal, Lieutenant Commander Clarence Taff ordered his Catalinas to be painted matte black. Every inch fuselage, wings, even the insignia disappeared under a layer of darkness. The only thing visible was a faint red serial number glowing like a scar. Asterisk, when the first of them rose into the night.
Ow.
The ground crews called them the Black Cats. Asterisk, they had no idea that the Japanese sailors half a world away would use the same name in fear. Asterisk, imagine it. You are a Japanese lookout aboard a destroyer. It is 2 a.m., the sea is quiet. The ship hums beneath your feet. Then suddenly, the darkness explodes. Bombs fall from nowhere. Engines roar overhead. By the time your guns swing around, the sky is empty again. Asterisk, that was the Black Cat signature appear. Strike, vanished. Asterisk, they flew low, sometimes so low that waves sprayed their windshields. They navigated by the moon, by the glimmer of islands, by instinct. Their radar was primitive, often useless. Their maps, hand-drawn. Every night was a gamble. But in war, sometimes madness becomes strategy. Japanese destroyers once raced through the Solomon Islands under the cover of darkness, carrying supplies to their isolated garrisons. They called it the Tokyo Express. It was fast, efficient, unstoppable till the Black Cats came. Asterisk, asterisk, they turned fear itself into a weapon. Japanese sailors began dreading the sound of the PBY's twin engines, a slow, rhythmic growl that meant death was near. Convoys started avoiding moonlit nights. Ship movements slowed. Supply lines faltered. Asterisk, the slowest aircraft in the Pacific had become its most haunting predator. Asterisk, and when they were not hunting, the PBYs were saving lives. Asterisk, by 1943, the same aircraft that terrorized enemy ships became angels of mercy. They began Dumbo missions, searching for downed pilots lost at sea. Asterisk, a single Catalina might circle an area for hours, scanning wave after wave until a tiny orange raft appeared. And no matter the wind, no matter the risk, it would land. Asterisk, imagine landing a 20-ton flying boat on waves taller than a man. The hull slams, the wings creak, water sprays the windows. And still, the pilot pushes forward because someone out there is waiting. Asterisk, Lieutenant Nathan Gordon did this 3 times. In one day landing under enemy fire to rescue 15 airmen near Kavieng, he won the Medal of Honor, but when asked about it, he said only they were alive. That is all that mattered.